is not explainable even by modern physics and technology standards, and seems to have been designed and created by intelligences before recorded time. We're going to have many more programs on this as the scope of human consciousness about the extraterrestrial phenomenon continues to emerge and continues to expand. But we want to begin this conversation with a woman living in Egypt, way down the Nile River in Luxor. If you know it on the map, you'll probably see it. Tracy Ash, who has been living there for decades, who's been communicating with orbs and extraterrestrial intelligences and beings for an exceedingly long time, organizes learning journeys and pilgrimages to that part of the world, who I recently had the privilege to make her acquaintance. And so we've asked her to give us a pictorial and visionary odyssey for a few minutes today, to root us in the ancient magical land of Egypt so that we can deepen our container of knowledge about these extraordinary beings that we seem to be discovering for the first time. So, Tracy Ash, welcome to Humanity Rising.
Thank you, Jim.
There you are, and I'll turn the program over to you, but would love to hear whatever you have to say about your journey and your explorations of psyche and soul.
Thank you so much. It's my absolute pleasure to be invited to present both my research and my discoveries and communication with the incredible non-human intelligence that is, of course, ancient Egypt and, of course, modern Egypt. The StarGates are, of course, our original StarGates and original archives for our original creation story. What we uncover in Egypt are always many, many timelines. What I am particularly interested in my work on pilgrimage and my work on time is where are the gateways where we can discover, unveil, and recover our incredible history, original history, the truth that not only dares to alchemize us as extraordinary human beings. Egypt is indeed the home of extraordinary humanity, humanity that is advanced, and humanity where time and dimensions are completely unveiled. It's important to leave behind our mainstream narrative and rhetoric for what is archived in the temples and in the pyramids are indeed profound messages of living gods, mediumship and channeling that materializes extraordinary information, extraordinary consciousness, where we are being called to exist as scribes. When we are gifted this extraordinary experience, it transforms our timeline forever. It strips us of the complications of incarnations where lessons have been lost and trauma is deeply embedded under the veil of our subconscious. So the complications of our consciousness and the complications of time, the complications of our incarnations, it is incredibly challenging to even begin to keep sacred time, purpose, and destiny when time is, of course, so many realities converging, where many signatures of wound are also converging. So this is indeed an extraordinary time where we can step through the veil, understanding the resurrection of time, the correction of time that is deeply embedded in not the discussion on contact and non-human intelligence, but in the direct experience. Part of my research is how we understand the science and the complex healing gateways, the encrypted, the protected gateways of time, how we earn that sovereign right to step through the veil of controlled time, for example, and how we develop and embody, enshrine our consciousness so that we can indeed return to the time travelers that we truly are. What is ancient Egypt? Ancient Egypt is the message, the messages from the past that are the solutions for this present moment of time. And in that present moment of time, we are transformed forever within the context of our sovereignty and our freedom, so that we can exist on earth as the change makers, that the first creation stories, the cosmology of Egypt foretell. We are simply stepping into the footsteps of the gods as they travel across the universe, and as we move into greater integrity and human value. These are the grails, the elixir that allows us to magnetize contact to us. Contact that is not a talking point, but bona fide contact that completely transforms our consciousness, our timelines, our wounds, and our traumas. And this can take us into an incredible up-leveling through the axis of the precession equinox. And it's through that axis that we also see the Great Pyramids embed. The pyramids field is indeed an incredibly stable axis for time travel to and through our great central sun. And this element is extremely important. In terms of contact, I'm interested in connecting, communicating with the gods, the original creator gods that indeed built our world, built the wisdom of our world, the wisdom of our earth, the wisdom of humanity. As we progress our understanding of ancient Egypt, we progress our place within the universe. Egypt not only initiates us to build communities that are built in human values and love and service. Ancient Egypt is, of course, the foundation of our spiritual communities, our Western spiritual communities, and of course, the grandmothers and grandfathers who indeed pioneered psychology and spirituality in the 19th and 20th centuries. Let me start with my presentation, and I want to share with you the entry into my world, entry into worlds that transcend the intellect, where we are weaving complex, extraordinarily complex intelligence systems within ourselves. And this, in the image of ancient Egypt, lands us in an incredible human resource for our service to humanity during these times. We have extraordinary invitation at this time to enter into a contract of destiny, which I believe the ancient Egyptians were capable of not only predicting, but scientifically arranging our appointments with destiny. So in terms of ancient Egypt, the creation prophecies are extremely hopeful in terms of a legacy of human beings who have indeed incarnated awake in community that is bound for the greatest collective shift in 26,000 years. We have indeed experienced as humanity extraordinary control, and we are returning with some consistency and with our soul memories intact, our incarnations intact. Many of you will be operating in your dream of purpose, destiny, and fate. And you will be locking into a complete resource, an archive of your incarnations. And again, the architecture and the original StarGates also maximize these memories so that we can not only consciously dream and remember, but we can consciously regenerate and prepare ourselves so that we are immaculately robust, as were the ancient ones, known as the Pillar People. These are the ancient ones related to Atlantis. These are the ancient ones who relate to the Western Desert. These are the ones of eternity, the ones of Osiris. These are the ones that have created your genetic blood blueprint. You are of the stars. And when we re-engage with contact, we are rebooting that extraordinary DNA which contains the memory and the truth of our star nation's origins. Contact is extraordinary at this time in ancient Egypt. And I am going to start the presentation. I apologize because I want to share so much as regards to what ancient Egypt is and how when we enter into Egypt in impeccable human values, impeccable ethics, impeccable truth, then the gateways, the timelines are unveiled for us, and everything we could possibly imagine metaphysically and within the context of a new era of quantum field intelligence, that resource is available to us in the most extraordinary resurrection and in the most extraordinary initiation. We are indeed protected by ancient truths and ancient times. We are indeed protected in the genetics of the prophets, humanity that can indeed materialize, progress, miracles, and exist beyond convention. We too are engaging with time that pulls us through the universe, and that contact allows us to prepare our timelines extremely carefully so that we are not only protected via our ancient origins, but we are protected going forward in terms of our future timelines, our future incarnations. And there is an extremely specific science as regards to our incarnations, our contracts, and there is specific calling of us at this time to engage in faith in terms of who we are and what we remember. We are here to create and manifest as new earth, as the prophecies have described, as we move into that timeline, as we transcend the control of the elite. Just going to move into the presentation. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. So, as you know, ancient Egypt, StarGates, and prophecies, we cannot have an understanding of the prophecies without understanding the StarGates. The StarGates are the prophecies. The prophecies are the StarGates, the sequence, the science, the formula, the contact, the permission to transcend realities that we have come to know that are, of course, a limitation within the context of our communion with other species beyond this planet. Man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. The God on earth is built on the pattern of the God in nature. But the universal consciousness of the real ego transcends a millionfold the self-consciousness of the personal for false ego. Carl Jung. To recognize the ancient Egyptians set out to solve the limitations of ego, to solve in the architecture, in the construction of the architecture that contains the original stargates, in these sanctified and truly divine temples and pyramids. It is here that the stargates, the timelines, and the gods are truly contained as our resource. I specialize in ancient Egypt and consciousness, goddess, gods, time, creation, non-human intelligence, science of reincarnation, PSI, advanced human intelligence, science of time. I was trained at the College of Psychic Studies, London, where I worked for 15 years, and I was identified as a new era channel, psychic, trance and physical medium. So I've been involved in research all of my life, and I was mentored at the College of Psychic Studies by the then president, Suzanna McInnery, At the very center of everything I do is the fundamental faith and belief and science that I am dedicated to in terms of human consciousness, what it is, and what real bona fide metaphysics can do within the context of our service and within the context of our human intelligence. This indeed has prepared me for the extraordinary levels of contact, which is also part of the foundation of the work that I share and teach with others. Central is goddess as time in the seal of the Eye of Ra. In the cosmology of Egypt, the goddess is not only mother, she is daughter of Ra. 2/3, 1/3 male and 2/3 female. This is the formula of what creation is. In the seal of the Eye of Ra, the goddess serves us. She materializes as we have moved through our own particular quota of karma, of lessons, and indeed the ancient Egyptians developed their own sanctuary that created the significant tipping points within the context of their own timelines. To create beyond time is to explore consciousness beyond our current levels of understanding, to not only consider our connection with the universe, but to progress our consciousness so that we can have real contact, bona fide contact that is protected in the seal of the Eye of Ra, so that we are contained in gateways that will only ever progress us in the fundamental first creation story, in our divinity, and in the star nations that serve our divinity and the evolution of our divinity on earth. We are indeed capable of orchestrating the most incredible karmic destiny and lessons, appointments with extraordinary advanced non-human intelligence. And how that materializes is entirely up to us. This is what I've learned within the context of ancient Egypt. Their fascination and their complete immersion in eternity and in ceremony that not only resurrected, but continuously regenerated and up-leveled consciousness, so that contact and timelines are always maintained. That seal of the Eye of Ra, the service of those timelines, those stargates, non-human intelligence will always protect us, even during these times. These stargates define advanced contact and advanced civilization capable of spiritual, humanity, and earth sustainability. When we really enter into the initiations, the ceremony, the contact, our own sustainability is ignited. We are moving in cycles of incredible spiritual soul sustainability, which creates the resource so that our hearts and minds are open to give, to learn, to receive, and to exist in ethics and human values that redefine the communities, the world that we live in. And this contact across the universe will materialize far more regularly, in far more dedicated service to you, as you transcend and you navigate and you renegotiate your contracts, your lessons, your wounds, your trauma. I'm also a trauma specialist too. And the contact that is possible is also part of that extraordinary universal service. We redefine ourselves personally and collectively as spiritually capable human beings, capable of creating a spiritual and environmentally sustainable world. And what is extraordinary is that the ancient Egyptians were in incredible balance with nature and the forces of nature that permit extraordinary advancement of the world that we exist in. And this is extremely important within the context of the resource. When we do decommission the goddess, we remove that extraordinary resource and the extraordinary presence of the goddess that brings with her the truth as regards to our origins, the truth and the resource of extraordinary time, time before time. And within that is the container of the dance that we regard as our incarnations on and off planet. The Amazia are of Africa detail the ceremonial masks akin to wolf or Anubis. Anubis is dog star, protector of Sothis, Sirius, and Isis. The Amazia are of and from the stars. They are known as the dog men. They are legacy gatekeepers. And this return to our origins, and particularly within the context of Egypt, this incredible access that is, of course, the gateway to and from Sirius. These gatekeepers are the legacy gatekeepers. And these gatekeepers are also the genetic gatekeepers of those who were born of the prophets. I live in the Medinet Habu, which is right in front of an extraordinary temple. The first temple was built in the 12th dynasty. It's a legacy Stargate that is connected with the original Stargate and the original creation story. The resource of that oldest Stargate of Luxor. Luxor is Waset. It's known as the female one. Waset is the place of the goddess. In terms of this, the legacy gatekeepers, those who were born of the prophets, those who were born of divine kings and queens, these are the ones who were born of ancient ones, and these are the ones that are awakening today. The Syrian axis is remarkable in terms of intelligence, and when we experience bona fide contact with these legacy gatekeepers and legacy star nations who are the original custodians of our creation story, when we are touched by these bona fide sovereign gateways, we enter into a remarkable science and a remarkable legacy of consciousness. We awaken consciousness, our divine consciousness, and we awaken historical evolution. And it's then that you are qualified to protect humanity and Earth, to protect your communities, to protect your families, and to protect all of humanity on Earth. This is extraordinarily important given what we are experiencing in the world today, given what Palestine is experiencing in terms of genocide. Yet, in this remarkable science and legacy, we are remembering that our consciousness is key in historical evolution. And we are remembering that we must qualify to protect humanity and Earth. The signals are extraordinarily potent at this time. We must transcend beyond the elite systems of power and the leadership that is, of course, not historically evolutionary and not historically progressive in terms of the sovereignty of every human being on Earth. So ancient Egypt is so much more than an archive of history. In fact, the ancient temples translate as archives of an evolutionary story of humanity. They contain the solutions for these times as written by the scribes in ancient times. The messages are of eternity. And as we immerse in the mystery of Egypt, we immerse in a science that assists us in solving our existence today. As you know, I live in Egypt. May many golden threads of cultures and nations be woven and united during these times to heal humanity and Earth again. Understanding your soul is primary to evolution of consciousness beyond negative AI and elite control. I believe in bridging, creating, building bridges between communities and worlds. And with a legacy of education and service to humanity since 1999, I harness primary gateways for individual and collective miracles of healing and evolution and non-human contact. In 2018, I was invited to the United Nations for the videos of a full Starfleet at Mount Shasta. I am always given time, date, and location of contact. And I will, of course, be forever grateful for my training at the College of Psychic Studies and the legacy of the College of Psychic Studies that goes back to 1865. So we are in that pivotal 26,000 years axial return of Ra. Here we can resurrect the original StarGates, our original sacred consciousness, and our original connection to the universe and all that is contained within the universe. We are indeed universal souls experiencing extraordinary incarnations across time. And it is our destiny to recognize that. And it is our destiny to be fully assisted by the star nations that have been guiding and protecting the sovereignty of humanity and Earth. The return of Goddess and soul of humanity is written in universal legends and prophecies and myths of humanity that unite us all, united in all cultures and all nations. I merge awakening consciousness with ancient history, and I draw parallels of wisdom between ancient Egypt and the ancient gateways of Japan. We're in a sacred time of reset. It's raw and absolute. It is described in prophecies as the end times, new earth, new era, and the awakening. The reset when toxic social, political, and economic control structures are exposed and transmuted. These agencies violate human freedom in false information, false histories, and compliance programs of psychologies detrimental to universal laws of spirituality, equality, and sovereignty. Since childhood, I've received prophecies, education, and psychology models for a new timeline of soul, consciousness, and protected gateways that overwrite ego, control, and destruction and dysfunction. This is the work and the research that I collate as a consequence of my meticulous research and preparations for contact. And this is what I'm discovering within the context of contact, that the anomalies are showing up within the context of all dimensions. And what we're also seeing is that there is a profound influence on the biofield of the individual who is also experiencing contact. In my teachings, in my world of initiations, contact is fundamentally key for deep trauma and wound resolution and accelerated, advanced awakening of consciousness. So through these photographs, we have not only the materialization of the gods, we have the messages of the gods, and we have the craft or the technologies that materialize as a result of the consciousness of the non-human intelligence shaping how we perceive the object, the contact. Because what we're working with, of course, is an extraordinary communion. And what we are also communing with is extraordinary, divine, sacred intelligence that we must ready ourselves for, or we blow our minds. So we see the appearance of new era intelligence and new quantum field features of our human intelligence. This is really important. So the spiritual rhetoric often doesn't take us into the materialization, the manifestation, the appearance of new era intelligence, the appearance of new quantum field features of human intelligence and the way we create reality, our impact. So we have the recalibration of our consciousness so that we can enter into grail impact in terms of our service to humanity. What we also see is advanced quantum field metaphysics integration, advanced quantum field metaphysics integration. So we're really heading into the kind of metaphysics that we can scientifically evaluate. And that's where we really need to be within the context of the issue of disclosure, the issue of how we do this and how we collect the research and we archive the research. So we're not just debating and recounting second-hand stories. No. My vision of contact has always been about taking us into the scientific evidence and the scientific evidence that is showing up in our consciousness and in our timelines and in what we build on this planet to defeat the elite agendas that are toxic. So we see quantum field metaphysics integration, and we see the embedding of StarGates and complex timelines within our own biofield. So we are integrating extraordinary archives that we usually consider beyond our human intelligence. And that's the resource that we are capable of. That is the resource that is such a big threat within the context of the elite. So here we have sacred intelligence cohesion. We have complex trans-dimensional human and non-human soul group recognition. And we have communication indicating considerable collective evolution. Considerable collective evolution may be possible. What's showing up in the work that I do with pilgrimages and my community's work at pivotal gateways across the planet. My work is not just restricted to Egypt. I've been working in crop circles since the 90s. I've been working in Japan consistently since 2012. So I'm working through a vast ecosystem of gateways, original StarGates. This also includes Mount Shasta. It includes the gateways where contact is so potently available to us. Contact is waiting for humanity to wake up. And it's in our prayers, and it's in our presence, and it is in our authenticity that we indeed can materialize and magnetize these extraordinary beings to us, to up-level the quality of our human existence. So if we look at the photography, and I'll go through the larger photographs as we move through the presentation. Again, I'm packing in so much that I can. What I'm seeing is the full materialization of craft and beings in our third dimensional timeline. So this is 2012. So this is pretty early within the context of the Stargate work that I was being progressively called to. I'm a gatekeeper, I'm a mystic, I'm progressively called to gateways to receive the next prophecy, for example, to receive the instructions in terms of the next phase of my own timelines. And I'm constantly working to prepare the timelines of humanity and those I'm working with too. This is the Valley of the Monkey, Valley of the Kings, and this is where the tomb of I, the original tomb of Tutankhamun, is built. This is the Ramesseum. Now behind me is the gateway that is protected, the gateway to the underworld. And that gateway is protected by Hathor herself. Now, we're dealing with the underworld. However, we're also dealing with our own subconscious. When the goddess is called to reinstate her protection, she is the overseer, the witnesser to our fate and our destiny, and she seals fate and destiny in the eye of Ra, and nothing can indeed prevent our purpose, our destiny, and what we are indeed sacred intended to materialize as our lives on the planet. This particular photograph was taken at Lake Shrine, Malibu in 2016. And as you can see, it is a transdimensional light being with extraordinary frequency. The frequency that is the axis of service. That is, of course, the legacy of sovereign work and service of Yogananda. This is a scene of one of my students being initiated in the King's Chamber during a VIP group visit. As you can see, she is enmeshed in contact. This is truly what the Great Pyramid is all about. However, the King's Chamber, the architecture of that particular Stargate, it must be engaged in the presence, the power, the potency of the goddess, so she can lock down, materialize the gateways that allow the Syrian initiation to become embedded, grafted into the consciousness, into the timelines of the individual. This is another materialization during a fire ceremony at Mount Shasta, California in 2018. This is in the same era as the Starfleet that I was given time, date, and location for when I was invited to the United Nations. This is a UAP that came in as an incredible materialization through the axis of the Great Pyramid complex, the Sphinx complex, maybe 60 meters above where we were standing in the street. All 30 of my group, including our security allocated to us, we all experienced contact in the terrestrial timeline. And that UAP was so extraordinarily close in terms of distance. And I knew that that materialization was a consequence of the extraordinary work that we'd achieved during that week of pilgrimage. And that's what we need to see within the context of our pilgrimages, that we're not just working through self-gratification. We are actually engaging in the work that takes us to the non-human intelligence materializing, magnetizing, traveling to us, because it is time. We have completed the work. So this is the Great Pyramid. And as you will know, ancient Egypt works on 28-day cycles. It works to the precession equinox. It works to the equinox. It works to the solstice. 28 days is extraordinarily important within the context of us purifying ourselves and entering into the kind of purification work that is consistent with keeping time on our destiny. I'm just going to take you into this. This is when one of the first stargates materialized. Feather. This comes out of a 16 minute video. This is from the Medinet Habu before I lived in Luxor, and it is unsurprising that I landed in Luxor and ended up living in the original Stargate to restore, to regenerate, to excessively advance my understanding of ancient Egypt so I can serve humanity at this time. And what happened during this extraordinary gateway portal activation? It's right at the back of the Medinet Habu in the Holy of Holies. This is where the most sacred of initiation and ceremonies took place. It's also the place where the highest priestess are also the queens. So this is where extraordinary magic took place. And it is known that Moses was initiated here and trained by the queens. As we know in ancient Egypt, the queens, some queens are deified. They are known as the gods' wives. When we are initiated by that level of human deification, we are moving into an extraordinary cycle of incarnation on the planet, to be initiated by divine ones, sacred ones, those who are devoted to divinity itself. This is the full star fleet. And again, it's contained in a much larger body of work. Anyone who is interested CSETI did a huge report on this particular 45-minute full Starfleet contact experience where I was given time, date, and location. And it was such a profound experience where multi UAPs were materializing, communicating with us and recalibrating my consciousness, again, recalibrating my timelines as I step into greater and greater and stronger calls to service. So I'm constantly being prepared to assist humanity during these times. So contact ramps up as a result of what is needed in my future times. This is UAP contact out in Australia. I also have been called to work in Uluru as well, and with the Ananga. And these contact experiences, again, continuously opening the gateways of time, continuously up-leveling my consciousness to protect me, to prepare me, to even at certain times, to correct time, to correct contracts. So here we go, stargates of the suns. And this is truly what ancient Egypt is. Stargate is an Einstein-Rosen dimensional portal device within the Stargate universe that allows practical, rapid travel between two distant locations. At Giza, we reference Sirius and Earth, not only in the ancient star maps, but in the architecture and in the creation stories written as the cosmologies, the mythologies, and the science of consciousness, and exact, accurate incarnation. Note, coronal mass ejections, CMEs, affect our biological functions and consciousness. Function in progressing, ascension, actual events of contact, NHI as cosmic grids are activated. This is the era of the return of the gods, and this is why contact is so exciting. Messages from the Dandara zodiac. The Dandara zodiac predicts not only the Dandara zodiac as a incredible cosmology device, it is also written in all of the adjacent rooms, temples that document, archive our creation story. So I'm going to take you through the prediction from the Dandara zodiac, the myth of the destruction of mankind is embedded in a larger ritual text. So nothing I work with on ancient Egypt is fantasy. I connect it always with the architecture, the texts, the scenes. It all has to be based in legitimate evidence. The myth of the destruction of mankind is embedded in a larger ritual text, the Book of the Heavenly Cow from the New Kingdom. The myth concerns the consequence of the end of the direct reign of the gods on earth and the origin of human kingship and of the king's destiny after death, i.e., eternity. Hathor is depicted as the house of Horus. The square outline is the base or enclosure wall of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The falcon inside the square is the living and the deceased pharaoh, protected by the square four cardinal directions. The temple of the goddess Hathor is depicted as the house of Horus, this extraordinary, genius, advanced humanity, magnificent, resplendent in all of its divinity and eternity. That is indeed the legacy and the purpose, the vision of the ancient Egyptians. In order to preserve sacred time, the goddess is required as the ultimate force of protection. And it's here she emerges from what is the primordial waters. And we find the waters are located in the original StarGates. At Medinet Habu, there are sacred waters, the original waters from the original creation story and the original time before time. It is written in those waters, and it is written in the waters that are found in subterranean Giza necropolis. To exist at this time is to reflect at this time, to travel through memories, reflections, and pieces of self, just like Osiris in the Osirian myth. A goddess, a return to the goddess, allows us to collect the missing pieces of ourselves. May we return to gateways and cycles of time protected by goddess. The Osirian myth takes on the magic of alchemy, the magic of your journey and your complete return to light. May the gateway of light guide you in Isis, Iset, in Osiris, Ozer, in Hathor, and in Horus, Heru. May you discover the ways to fly. May we meticulously analyze our timelines, and may we meticulously open the gateway that resets, resurrects, restores time, sacred time within us. It is time to bring the missing pieces of ourselves home. Only you can collect the missing pieces through the magic of your perception. These missing pieces magically alchemize as lotus flowers. This is the gift of the real, the true, the bona fide healing journey. This is the gift you gift humanity as you look to the stars, as you look to new timelines. May your eyes shine bright as the soul you know materializes to perceive your greatest path, and may you rise and may you open your eyes. I operate as a scribe also, so this is a message from the gods, and this is the work that I channeled when I was leading a pilgrimage to the Temple of Dandara. There are two main resurrection myths, and here on the right is actually the image of Hathor. It's the house of Horus, and this is where you see the construction of the pyramid. It's deeply enmeshed in this cosmology. And when we are looking at, for example, ancient aliens, we're often missing the very important cosmology and mythologies. We cannot understand Giza without understanding the complex cosmologies and creation stories and their timelines. So within the context of Egypt, it's very difficult even beginning to understand Egypt because the truth has been written through time. And of course, as we know, society creates what it needs at a particular moment in time. There are two main resurrection myths that rebuild the original StarGates. In the Osirian myth cycles as they appear in the pyramid texts are the first texts of Old Kingdom. Griffiths refers to these as the Horus-Seth myth and the Osiris-Seth myth. These are the pathways that regenerate our memory of Atlantis, our original creation story and bona fide communion with ancestors and star races. What we know in the pyramid text is Osiris, a king, is killed by his brother Seth. Eternity is destroyed, dismembered from the memory of humanity. Eternity is destroyed, dismembered from the memory of humanity. These myths are our journeys, our history, our psychology, our healings, our awakenings. Osiris is found by Aset or Iset, it's Isis and Nebet, the great mother and goddess of creation, locates eternity and is restored through mummification ritual and ceremony, thus restoring memory, original consciousness, and Stargate to Atlantis and lineage of ancestors. The presence of our ancestors, these are the bridges to contact, the bona fide structure and sequence so that we can experience revolutionary contact. The ancient Egyptians describe this as the field of reeds. This is the abode, the place in the stars where the ancestors are birthed and returned. We are born of the star nations. The Seth and Horus myth animates as Horus inherits the trauma and archetypes of unhealed history. Upon having his eye restored, Horus will offer it to Osiris as protection against Seth's violence. This eye of Horus is humanity's memory of right and good. Horus brings the conquered Seth destroyed chaos and evil, and his confederates before Osiris in a display of order over chaos. This is such an important mythology. This is teaching us how to transcend the chaos and the evil of these times. This is the path of evolution to resurrect the original stargates on Earth and our place within the stars, protected by right choice and protection of Goddess across all time, across all incarnations. This is an extraordinary time to be alive on this planet. With cosmology and order restored, Osiris is king of the Duat, and the Duat are the 12 hours of night, which under the jurisdiction and the protection and the magic of the goddess, we travel through the underworld. The soul travels through the subconscious to navigate the chaos, to restore eternity, to restore the magnificence of living on earth. And Horus becomes king over the living. So you always have 12 days, 12 hours of night and 12 hours of day. This is at the center to understanding the functions of temples and pyramids in a complex science of human evolution, guided by a protection legacy and lineage of non-human intelligence, star peoples and star nations of Sirius, Vega, Orion, and seven Hathors, the Pleiades, of course. These are the original prophet bloodlines, advanced humans of extraordinary incarnational memory, radical PSI abilities, bona fide time, and non-human intelligence resource. In our own personal and collective incarnation and evolutionary lessons to divinity, we meet the same evolutionary and karmic initiations of the first gods. Do not separate yourself from the cosmology, from the StarGates, and of course from the mythologies. These are your timelines. This is your history. These are your footsteps. It is time to exist on the planet in the memory of that legacy. Remembering and resurrecting memory is stored in ancient Egypt's extraordinary visible and hidden archives. Initiation of these same evolutionary cycles open doors of advanced human evolution. Humanity's memory is restored within the most potently selected and protected original stargates. So this isn't any kind of contact. This is definitely not what to go for. We are seeking the most sublime and extraordinary contact that is sacred, that is divine, that will guide us, protect us, and deliver the messages through time to us. This level of initiation combines embodied mysticism and quantum field. It's here that you are being birthed as a human stargate. Wow. So, and when the architecture of the soul is lighted, the gateways, the shadows, chaos, and entitlement that disturbs the dream collapse. As the light grows brighter, ego falters. Not in many lifetimes did I see this miracle reset gaping wounds of history. Time is healed. Perception is finally birthed as the sword is held by resurrected goddess. She holds the truth. She holds the intelligence of the universe on her blade of inevitable truth, justice. In one mystical moment, the gatekeepers enshrined in myths and legends materialize. Her celestial form is enshrined. The gatekeepers concede to her devotion and presence to all of creation. They hold her sword of truth as her eye of Ra magnificently unveils what has been hidden from human eyes. These are my prophecies and teachings also. Cosmology and mythology materialize as our history and our future of survival that can only be found in transforming our own historical wounding. An eternity of lost and won evolutionary lessons travels with us. We are standing at the edge of ultimate revelation, inclusive of and yet beyond religions, misunderstood by the ones who exist as Seth, the destroyers of our original creation story, the destroyers of the original stargates, the silencers of the star nations, and humanity's bona fide path guided and protected by the star nations, the stargate animated on Earth. Spell 474 of the pyramid text states, the Ak belongs to heaven, the corpse to earth, and it was the Ak which would enjoy eternity among the stars with the gods. And the Ak is an incredibly advanced soul who chooses to incarnate to serve humanity. And that Ak will always reside in the stars and is the bridge between worlds and universes. The pyramid text again, Orion is encircled by the Duat when the one who lives in the horizon purifies himself. Sothis, i.e. Sirius, is encircled in the Duat when the one who lives in the horizon purifies himself. That stargate of Syrian intelligence. This Unus is encircled by the Duat when the one who lives in the horizon purifies himself. I'll stop.
Yeah, we're getting fairly close to time here, so
That's okay. I'm really happy to
wanted to
come in
remind you.
and what I just want to do is just mention one thing because my
Sure.
presentations are huge, but I'm just gonna take you to this image on a super unremarkable scene in the Temple of Dandara, the Temple of Hathor, is an image of two goddesses. This is a scene of incredible hope as regards to humanity. I spend so much time looking for the answers that are written within plain sight. This is an image of Seth. In this representation, Seth is imaged as a donkey. But this is also, he's right next to Isis and Nephthys. And Isis and Nephthys, Iset and Nephthys, have destroyed Seth. They have destroyed evil. And this is the prophecy that is, of course, contained in the Temple of Dandara. And this gives us extraordinary hope as regards to what is taking place on the planet at this time. This is extraordinary stuff. And of course, so many of my teachings and research, I can barely keep up with the discoveries in terms of the messages of the gods across time. But that scene is extraordinarily important. The return of the goddess that destroys evil on earth, thus restoring, resurrecting the original stargates. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Maybe stop your screen share.
Yes. There we go.
There we
Did
go.
that work? Yes.
Yes. Well, I think given that the time constraints, we'll just adjourn immediately to the after chat. Tracy will join the after chat for those of you who want to continue this dialogue with her. You'll see the link in the chat box. And if you're a regular viewer of Humanity Rising, you received it in your Zoom reminder for today. But Tracy, let me just say I've been struck by your deep commitment to this process and look forward to having you back again and possibly working with you to take a group of pilgrims to Egypt at some point to learn from you and to experience the ETs. But you are clearly in a very deep resonance with that sacred place. So I just want to thank you for that and acknowledge it.
Thank you so much.
So that'll do it for us for today, everyone. You're welcome to join Tracy in the after chat, as I just indicated. And then tomorrow, we're going to have a session on a new kind of energy medicine that is being developed by a very innovative practitioner. And that'll be tomorrow on Humanity Rising. Thank you so much. Bye for now.